Today's video, we're bringing back the Soviet Union, an outdated country with an outdated system. Yeah, the Soviet Union is here. And Vladimir is probably really happy. So what do they do first? Well, I don't know. So I'll get them to do something. You know what? They decide they actually did want Mongolia all this time. But Mongolia doesn't let them keep the annexation request that they made, I guess. Imagine being annexed. Now they do this. They've taken over Mongolia. And then they realize China's not truly communist. They don't like that. They don't like that China's not communist enough. So they decide to go to war with them. And do they have any allies? North Korea rejoices with them back, I bet, because they like it. So they join the war. What are they going to do? Well, nothing. What can they do? Well, also nothing. So why would they do this? Because they can, I guess. And they start moving in along the front line. As they move another key front over here. And then they move into this area. Which turns out to be a breeze. Man should do this. On this front. And eventually forces come just to hold them back from any further advance. Well, they advance from here. With the goal of making China communist. Yes, communist. As they manage to launch a small counter-offensive here. But also, I am over-strengthening the Soviet Union for this video, basically. Well, they're starting to take more of Manchuria. With them just pushing them back from near the capital. And the goal of them is to create a communist regime. And whenever I start sending them help, they are losing ground. But it doesn't really make a difference, as the outcome is kind of alright going to happen. Well, they managed to push in and even take the capital, with them eventually causing a surrender. Well, and they managed to take over more lands, with the government taking control of their economy. Although they don't plan on annexing any ground, they plan on making it like that. Well, they pretty much created a puppet in what they occupy. Well, they move into the urban area, the urban front, which is the coast. And they manage to cut off Tibet, which leads to them moving in to cause a surrender in the forces, which they eventually get, to the irritation of this nation, once powerful, now failing to hold back an advance of the Soviet Union. How'd they get so strong? Who knows? And well, they managed to take these lands. And then they move back to get more of the coast. Seeing this, the end of this nation as they know it happens, as they are turned into a puppet state. Why a puppet not annexed? Well, they're too large to annex. As the communist order is spreading. As they start a war in Iran. Well, how's their war in Iran go? Well, let's see. With them launching a quick offensive and managing to take the capital in a few days, leading to a big humiliation for this nation of 80 million people. So it's a lot of people. They have a population, but their economy isn't great. As communism becomes promoted as a way to fix your economy, yes, it does. Even though it never did real well at it, but did okay. It just didn't do it well enough. So yeah, they annexed this corridor, I guess you could call it. It's not really big. As they want both sides of their nation connected, I guess. I've actually annexed. This was '44. I'd have Iran annexed. Belgium's impossible. And so then they go into Afghanistan. They really much learned their lesson here. And they learned what not to do. Not get defeated, yes. And them having millions of forces, I guess, ready if they need it. But they only have a few 100,000 in. As they manage to cause the collapse of this nation. So the Soviet Union decides to annex it. Well, them deciding it's time to make some puppets. And they go across the Middle East. Well, they move in. And they manage to take the capital of Iraq quick. And then they move in this area. And they manage to cause coups to happen in both of the countries, leading to them becoming puppets. As they just make them into puppets. As they are forced into the communism. And them going to war with Saudi Arabia and Jordan, as they believe them to be valuable. And they believe the other nation. That's not a great idea. That's not a great amount of them advancing down the coast. And they manage to take it to here. And then they start an offensive against Jordan. And them managing to advance. And then communism becomes very popular. As well, all of the cities fall. Well, not yet. Now all the cities have fallen. And well, they decide to do something. As they decide they want Finland and Poland and Turkey. I don't really think what's going to happen as they declare war on 4 nations. Really end up with these nations at war. And you know what happens is that? Well, NATO gets alliance and NATO can get fully mobilized. They start massive offensives. With them using all their resources from their puppets to invade Turkey. As they move their forces from the Asia area over, a lot of them, not all. And they start advancing into Finland. As they take Finland's capital and Finland's city. Finland collapsed. Yes, Finland collapsed. Shocker. With massively, their invasion of Romania was a big success, and became a full success. And now their invasion of Poland, well, they're still able to advance fast. They advance fast throughout Turkey. Of them trying to get forces before this falls to take Ankara. move into Bulgaria quickly, crumbling it. Before the NATO forces come, they occupied all the Balkans, basically. Except what Italy managed to occupy. And after that, they decided to start their invasion of Sweden and Norway. And well, the most embarrassing defeat was their takeover of Alaska, as they managed to advance wildly into there. And well, in reality, these lands they never advanced in. And they managed to set up a complete secure zone to hold it. But that doesn't really do it, so they moved down to take Vancouver and Seattle. As if that wasn't embarrassing enough. And that leads to some forces having to retreat out of Central Europe, I guess. Or not Central Europe, Northern Europe. But either way, everywhere loses a bit. With them offering peace, but nobody accepts it, so they advance into Italy, which they quickly capture Rome. And after that, they manage to take it all over. And Munich quickly falls along with Berlin as months have passed, maybe even years. They finally move into Denmark, managing to capture it, with them moving into Benelux to move in to capture Paris. Which is where they agree to peace. But before they agreed to peace, these few major cities were taken back over. Well, they are ready for the peace treaty. So let's see how of the USA, which by that I mean Alaska, they annexed Romania, they annexed big parts of Poland, big parts of Turkey, including, well, the areas next to the two straits, so they can have control over the water, and then they puppet every country all the way to Germany, but they make Czechoslovakia, the Nordic Union, they make Belgium unified, they unify Croatia and Slovenia, they give Bulgaria Macedonia, and they give a puppet to their southern puppet here, a country basically. Well, they're big annexations. They're now definitely the strongest nation on the planet in this world. Well, that's all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, and until you subscribe.